Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 21st, 2020 meeting of the Town Council Charter Review Committee. In accordance with Massachusetts general laws, this meeting is being videotaped and audio recorded, as well as being remotely broadcast via Zoom webinar. If there's anyone in our viewing audience who is taping this meeting, would you please announce yourself? Seeing or hearing none, we have tonight with us Phil Adams, I'm Larry Levine, Andy Frazier, Marilyn Richards, who will be a voting member tonight, William Fonseca, Tom Christensen, Jeff Bosworth, and our wonderful town clerk, Jeannie Quaglieri.
Okay, before we move on, I will take minutes for tonight.
You read my mind.
There you
Bill
go, sir.
Fonseca will be taking minutes. And we had, I just want to note, I had sent you all a communication we received from Town Councilor Patrick Henry. According to my records, that is his second letter to the committee. And we will, as with the others, be attending to those at the end of our initial review. We had left off last time with Article 2, Section
You're going to approve
4.
the minutes?
Yeah, we've got some minutes to approve there, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Worked real
Do I
hard on.
hear a motion to approve the minutes of July 4th? Say it again. Say it, Tom.
I said I worked real hard on those.
I didn't hear. I know you did, and I apologize. We have meeting minutes of July 14th, 2020. Do I hear a motion for their approval?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Jeff. The motion was made by Andy. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor?
Roll
Bill
call.
Adams?
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. Andy Frazier?
Yes.
Marilyn Richards?
Yes.
William Fonseca?
Yes.
Tom Christensen?
Yes.
Jeff Bosworth?
Yes.
And no one opposed. It carries. Nice job, Tom. And so getting back to that, we
Larry,
had left off
Larry,
with, yes,
can I just say that, are we supposed to mention that Ralph is not here? He's absent, and the new president is absent?
There's Ralph. He must have heard you.
Never
Ralph is
mind.
here. We just had Ralph Page enter the picture. And Marilyn, I'm sorry to say, does that remove you as a voting member?
That's fine.
But
That's
we
okay.
still want your input.
Thank you.
Okay. So yes, our new ex officio member is the new president of the town council, Michael Kane. And we congratulate him. And unfortunately, he's getting ready for a meeting. And so he asked that we note his absence tonight, but he received communications from us as well. We're sending him a thing from now on. So we had left off under Article 2, Section 4, the last paragraph. However, we need to go back to Article 2, Section 3, the third paragraph. I'm sorry, the fourth paragraph. Speaking of the duties of the town clerk, we have input from our town clerk, Jeannie Quaglieri, who has suggested the inclusion of a phrase at the end of that paragraph. and it would increase the town clerk's duties. And let me read what's requested or suggested. The town clerk shall also perform such other duties as may be assigned by this charter, bylaw, rules of the council, or as requested by the council president. I open it up for discussion on that suggestion.
Can you read it one more time, please?
Sure. The town clerk shall also perform such other duties as may be assigned by this charter, bylaw, rules of the council, or as requested by the council president. The suggestion is adding the words "or as requested by the council president."
Also, Larry, I just sort of changed the format a little bit and made two sentences out of one so it would sound smoother.
Oh,
It didn't change any
Did I
of the text,
miss
it just
something?
changed the formatting of the sentence.
so you're changing it from prior as one long sentence, and now you want it to be two sentences, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any Yes, Andy?
Just, I was going to ask Jeannie, so did you suggest this because you saw this as something is lacking, some deficiency since the charter was implemented?
I think it's too specific because there are so many, a variety of duties that clerk of the council does to support the council. It's just not those outlined by the charter, bylaw, or rules of the council. It could be any other situation that could arise. The president may ask me for supporting documentation or do research, or it just, things that come up all the time. So it's just not things that are specific to those documents. So I thought by saying, as requested by the council president, it should be funneled through the president, even from the other councilors to come to me.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I mean, if anybody would know, it's going to be you. So,
Mhm.
yep. Okay.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Ralph?
I've got a concern with it being everything funneled through the council president. As it states earlier, the president has the same authority as all other councilors. What if the president's not available and the vice president needs to discuss something? What happens, like today, I shot Jeannie a quick email asking her about if we had voted on a specific bylaw or something.
Mhm.
At that point, then required to send my email to the president. Hopefully the president then sends it to Jeannie. It seems a little bit more cumbersome than just saying or as requested by a member of the council. And
That's
knowing under the
valid.
rules and regulations that we're pretty much required to try and go through the president whenever necessary.
Mhm. So it could say, or as requested by
A
the
counselor.
council, a council member. I agree with, that was a good example because you do that and I'll get back to you, and it's really not a big deal. So that could be a bigger deal if I had to go through the council president. So would you like that to read as requested by the council? Or
Well,
a member of the council?
Well, I have a concern or question about that. If you limit it to requested by the council president, the prior three requirements, either through the charter, bylaw, or rules of the council, require some vote that authorizes them having you do a function for them. The council president is only one member. And this is not directed at anyone individually, but the council president, or I guess right now, any member of the council, could come to you and ask you to do something that was not within the jurisdiction. I don't know if that's of the council. Has that happened, or have any concerns about that?
Personally, I don't. I think I would be able to discern if it was an appropriate council-related request that I may question, but I don't think that's come up. Not that off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that's come up like that.
And if you, go ahead, Bill.
I understand what everybody's saying, and I understand Ralph's point, but I'm concerned about Jeannie getting overwhelmed by 3 or 4 counselors all of a sudden going to her, and the town council and the president being left out in the dark about what they're requesting. So I understand everybody's arguments, but I think it still should be funneled through the town council so that Jeannie isn't getting pulled in 12 different directions at once.
But then who directs her?
I would say the council president.
So, but does anyone have a concern that the council president unilaterally can direct the town clerk to do something without agreement from the town council itself?
Well, we could add that in there.
But I
Yes,
think
Tom.
that, go ahead.
I'm good.
Just as a question, is any of this specifically stated in the rules of the council?
I don't think so.
Like, meaning it specifically says in the rules of the council that the president is the one that directs the clerk?
No.
Because then then you'd be saying it twice, right?
Right.
But I think the reason it's probably not in their rules is because it's in the charter to an extent.
Yeah, but that's a good point, Tom. I'm wondering if it's better if the town council, pursuant to its rules and regulations, authorizes the president direct any inquiries to the clerk, rather than the charter saying that. That way you have the assent of all the town council members.
It's a good point.
Jeannie, what do you think about that?
Well, I think one of the perks, I guess, of the president, one of the points of power is they would have that authority to request something of the clerk of the council. However, Ralph's got a good point. If someone wants to shoot me a quick email for something that doesn't take too long, and it is timely, they need it in a certain amount of time, it could be, I don't know. I can see points both ways.
Marilyn?
Just to sort of support this discussion, there has been a recent, and Jeannie, you can help me with this, there's been a recent executive order from Mary to the department heads regarding counselors asking department heads to do research or create reports or do additional duties. And the executive order essentially says that it all has to go through Mary. To be fair about, because it's happening in other areas within our town hall already, where people are being asked to do things that from counselors. So I understand where this is coming from in terms of trying to create a standard to have Jeannie involved in making a decision with perhaps the council president when there's a request for additional duties. You look puzzled.
Who, me or Jeannie?
You.
I am. I'm on the fence on this. I don't know if it should go to the charter. And I understand what Ralph is saying, because I know in the past, even though I wasn't, we'll say, chairman of the selectmen, I know I would constantly call for information. And I think that's appropriate to say, especially when it's a simple question. I don't have an answer other than, I think the better way would be to authorize through the rules and regs. But then how, if Ralph has a question about whether something was in fact passed, then he has to go through the president, and then the president has to ask.
So I can just, Ralph asked me a question about a bylaw. Now that he could have been asking me as clerk of the council, or more appropriately, town clerk. So you know what I mean? That's another, my point of expounding on that paragraph was that the duties of the clerk of the council is outside the scope of just those pointed things, the charter, a bylaw, or rules of the council.
Right.
So it was to include other things, other duties that may be required outside that. So if you're saying if we put something in the council rules about that would cover.
Yeah, I think that's better, because then you're having the councilors vote on delegating or authorizing the council president to be the liaison to the town clerk. Rather than, there's 7 councilors. Perhaps it's not a problem now, but one day could it be 7 people constantly calling you?
Well, that's what I'm thinking of, the positions, not, of course, the people in the positions right now, because it's not a problem now at all.
Right.
I was thinking in the future,
Yep.
worst case, what could happen, and what could protect somebody. Right. And I think Kathy said at the last meeting we shouldn't be too specific, right? Because I was saying other duties deemed appropriate, but.
What's your pleasure, people?
Well, I think every team needs a quarterback. And I agree with Bill. You should go through the council president. Because if you go to the council president, if Ralph went to the council president and said, I got a question for Jeannie pertaining to the bylaw, the council president, that's all he or she all has to do is, okay, no problem, give her a call. But the council president, who works very closely with Jeannie, would know her workload. And the council president may say, well, why don't you hold off a little bit, because I know Jeannie's buried. So I agree that we need a quarterback, and that's the president. That's my thoughts.
So,
What Phil said, Mary McNally asked that any counselor, go through her for department head information. Any department head that needs town council SEL go through Mary. So it's not unlike that, where you're going through a quarterback to, just to not get permission, but I guess you're
I
getting.
think that's healthy.
so
Yes,
Larry,
Ralph.
so I'm going to disagree a little bit. And because Jeannie's the clerk of the town and she's the clerk of the council, most of the questions I think the counselors have, we could call her as a citizen and ask. Like today, I mean, it was a simple question with regards to a bylaw. And just because I'm a town councilor to force me to go through the president makes no sense. I think it's to the point where if Jeannie thought it would take too long, she would simply say, hey, if I get a chance, I'll look that up for you, but I'm buried right now. And I think the counselors are very appreciative of that. And at least I know with myself, I try and minimize everything and ask specific questions that I need to know, and that's it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we accept Jeannie's addition to the article as written by, or spoken by you.
Second.
Is there a second by Andy? And I just thought of something. Everything we do, and if we recommend, it's going to be discussed and decided by the town council itself. So they'll have
Right.
a chance to
Exactly.
involve themselves in that decision. Any other discussion?
So if I understand this correctly, so this will be specific to her duties as clerk of the council, not town.
Correct.
Yeah. correct.
Yeah, that was the intent, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of adding the wording "or as requested by the council president," and also the combination of the, actually, the changing of the second sentence, fourth paragraph into two sentences. Bill Adams,
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. Andy Frazier,
Yes.
Marilyn Richards. Oh, no, you're not
Non-voting.
voting. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
William Fonseca,
Yes.
Tom Christensen,
Yes.
Ralph Page,
No.
Jeff Bosworth. Jeff, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to go with Ralph and say no on this.
Okay, so that wording passes 5-2. All right. We are back to that Article 2. We're in Section 4. We are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph. Shall I read it again?
Where are you, Larry? I'm sorry.
Article 2, Section 4, the last paragraph.
Council procedures.
Say it again?
Council procedures is section 4.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'll read it again. A full, accurate, up-to-date account of the proceedings of the council shall be maintained by the town clerk, which shall include a record of each vote taken and which shall be made available with reasonable promptness following each meeting, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting. Provided, however, that unless otherwise provided by law, the minutes of an executive session shall be made available as soon as publication of the minutes would not defeat the purpose of the executive session. All right. Hopefully you got, I sent you copies of the open meeting law, the section on minutes specifically. There was a comment made last time. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. That minutes had to be provided within 30 days. And I read this chapter and section of the law, and regular minutes, not for executive session, the law says the minutes of all open sessions shall be created and approved in a timely manner. The minutes of an open session, if they exist in whether approved or in draft form, shall be made available upon request by any person within 10 days. In the definitional section of the open meeting law, it does not define what timely manner means. Now, there may be case law or Attorney General's regulations. If you go to the last paragraph in that section, there is a reference to the 30 days. And that's when executive session minutes, if they're not restricted by confidential or privileged exemption, that they would have to be available by the next body's meeting or 30 days, whichever first occurs. So we have similar language in our section. We use the word with reasonable promptness, which is different than the wording in the statute. And so now I go back to our discussion of last week. There was suggestion that we put exact timing or times when minutes would have to be available. Let me know what you feel.
Well, we can't go above what the law says, so I don't know.
Say that again?
We can't go above what's in the law, so we've kind of got to mirror the law. We can't institute something that's not necessarily there.
Right, and it's rather strange. The law for open sessions says you have to do it in a timely manner.
Right.
But if someone were to request the open meeting minutes, it appears that you have to supply them, even if it's a draft form,
Within 10 days.
and within 10 days.
Mhm.
So,
I've been in discussions about that in different scenarios, in different, conferences and stuff. And that is actually the case, that they can be provided in draft form prior to them being approved.
right. Very odd. Jeannie, do you have any input from the AG on that?
Well, I don't. I mean, but I've looked at the Mass General Law that you handed out to us. I would strike out, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting in this section.
Yeah, and just use with reasonable
Yep.
promptness.
You would take that out, Jeannie?
I would take out the part that says, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting. Because that means the minutes have to be done and approved by the next meeting. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
There could be a heavy workload in the staff, or, there's a illness, whatever, where that deadline couldn't be met. An open meeting law doesn't require that. So I'm not sure why we'd require it in this.
So Jeannie, would you recommend adding a number of days, whether it's 10 or 30, in lieu of that?
No. And I think the draft, the open minutes can be, requested within 10 days. That's almost like public records request, where you have to do that. So if this charter is just talking about when minutes have to be available, shall be made available with reasonable promptness following each meeting. It's almost like it's melding open meeting and public records request at the same time. Made available
Tom.
a public
Tom,
records
sorry.
request, or made available,
Right.
I almost wonder if it should mimic the open meeting law, that same paragraph.
So,
You all have that, what Larry sent us, that paragraph C of the MGL?
Yeah. Tom, you had a comment?
yeah, well, I just earlier in this, and it specifically quotes open meeting law of the Commonwealth. Is there any harm in just doing that again?
Yeah, Ralph and Bill, I don't know why our consultant gave us that wording rather than using the exact wording from the statute.
I got a funny feeling this was one of those copy and paste things from some other document that was presented to us.
Yep.
And we just we read it, it sounded good at the time, and we just went forward with it.
Yeah. Could I suggest that the wording be somewhat changed, which would read, shall include a record of each vote taken and which shall be made available in a timely manner following each meeting, and then delete, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that works.
Yeah, that's good.
Why?
Is that,
It gives you 30 days on a regularly scheduled meeting. I mean, it's not saying that it has to be exact minutes. It's saying a record, including votes taken. Right now, after our meetings, we do an agenda update where we show the votes and stuff like that, and that's usually within a couple of days, that's up and available.
The marked
Right.
agenda.
A marked agenda.
Mhm.
So to me, the marked agenda covers everything. It shows the votes and all that were taken. And the minutes may take a little bit longer, but as long as they're done in a timely fashion. In the past, we've had issues, especially with the past Board of Selectmen in the future, where they were 2 years behind on minutes. I mean, I think we put this in because at the time we were looking at what was happening and we wanted to make sure that, hey, these are going to be done in a timely fashion. We're not going to allow them to go 2 months, 3 months, 4 months out.
Ralph, what's the definition of a timely fashion?
It's
Like I
not
said,
defined in the statute. It may be defined by either the Attorney General in their law. I don't know the answer to what timely fashion would be. I know that 2 years is not a timely fashion. What is timely, I don't know the answer.
Well, if we,
Go ahead, Jeannie. I'm sorry.
Why does the first part of the paragraph use the phrase account of the proceedings of the council? Then the second half refers to minutes of executive session. Isn't the first part of that paragraph it's inferring minutes of open session, or isn't it? I'm not sure why it's called account of the proceedings, where that phrase is coming from.
Again, that was probably wording given to us originally, and we didn't compare it as we're doing it now, probably, Bill or Ralph, with
Well, we didn't
the
really have
actual.
anything to compare it to. We had past practice,
Mhm.
to Ralph's point,
Yeah.
but we really didn't have anything else to compare it to.
Yeah, and we just presumed the wording was different, perhaps from the statute, but it had the same intent.
But what's the intent? Is it,
In the statute, it does not use, it uses the word minutes rather than the word account.
and it also says if you request them 10 days, a person within 10 days. I mean, with this language, we're giving at least 30 days to the next meeting. I mean, granted, if someone comes in, they still have to fall under the open meeting law requirements.
Right. I mean, Jeannie, to your point, I don't know why it doesn't say the full, accurate, up-to-date minutes of the proceedings. I don't know the answer to that. Jeff?
muted?
Are you there, Jeff?
I'm here. I keep getting muted for some reason.
I
Okay.
keep muting you, Jeff, because we're getting feedback from your microphone.
Oh, okay.
All right. Does anyone think we should change the word account to minutes?
I agree with that.
yeah,
Okay.
I would certainly be
All
consistent.
right, so, yep.
The only thing, Larry, is if we do that, then the marked agenda doesn't count as keeping people up to date because they're not minutes. And the marked
Right.
agenda that goes out now basically says all the votes and all on it.
Well, I don't know if the AG would consider, after your meeting, you mark up the agenda just to say what the vote was taken?
That was something that Connie started when she was director of planning, and Denise Menard, the town manager at the time, liked that. So she asked that I do the same when I was assistant. So that's how that started.
Could we say draft minutes instead of up-to-date account?
Well, the word minutes is throughout the statute, and the statute says, even if the minutes have not been approved and they're in draft form, a citizen could request it within, and have it within 10 days. So following your meeting, if you mark up a document, even if it was the minutes or the agenda, and you put something down, vote was taken 5-2 on some issue. But the statute also says that you have to, a summary of the discussions on each subject. So I'm presuming that would be a draft minutes at that point. So you would have to release that within 10 days of the request, even before the full town council will approve those minutes. So calling them minutes, whether in draft form or final approved form, I don't know that that matters.
Aren't they all draft until their final approval?
Yeah, I mean, even if it's in draft form, on request, it has to be released.
One thing that we encountered, and it's been a contentious thing with the Conservation Commission, is the whole point of getting minutes as quickly as possible to be reviewed before the next meeting. And this, you know, like Jeannie brought the forward, Connie put this thing with these this marked agenda thing. And our whole contention is, don't waste your time doing the marked agenda. Just get the minutes done as quickly as possible. Get them to the boards or whoever, so we can get them reviewed and get them approved at the next meeting. Sometimes we were getting them the day of the meeting where people didn't have a chance to review them, so you're continuing to the following meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, or as far as we're concerned on conservation, we'd rather have the draft minutes 2 to 3 days after the meeting if possible, or at least the Friday before our next meeting. Because if you're getting them the day of the meeting and people are working, they don't have time to read them before the meeting. And then what you're doing is you're continuing them to the following meeting. So basically it's 30 days before you even get the minutes approved.
Right, but isn't that the reason we would delete the phrase that says that they have to be no later than the next regularly scheduled meeting? Just in case that happens.
Right, but still, I think getting the minutes done in a reasonable promptness is good. And I'm almost thinking they have to be approved within 30 days.
But there's nothing in the open meeting law that requires 30 days. That's the problem.
Right, except until you go to the last paragraph, but.
So you go to the last paragraph, but that's,
It's executive session.
That's the executive.
yeah, that's executive session. That doesn't.
Yeah, but.
Any other comments? Ms. Marilyn?
You know, as I look at this paragraph, this is, you know, the town clerk's responsibility, and it's for documentation, to share information, to record the proceedings of the meeting. We talked about the marked up agenda, which would give forward up-to-date accounting informally, such as it is helpful if someone were looking at that information. We also have different technology with LCAT, and while that's not the responsibility of the town clerk, there's still information out there that people can seek if they are looking for answering a question from the meeting. You know, I think the language as written is actually fine. If we remove those, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting, minutes are getting done in a timely manner. And if they're not, we have Mary who would deal with an individual department if the minutes were behind. So rather than the pressure of doing it by the next meeting, I think just remove those words and leave it as it is. That would be my thought.
Did I hear you correctly? You would leave the paragraph as is?
But I would remove those words, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting.
You
Because
would remove them?
Sometimes that's unrealistic. Just knowing we had a meeting last week, we have another meeting this week, it's impossible to do all the information, not impossible, it's just more challenging, just from last week and this week alone, to have the minutes in place from last week. Agree, Jeannie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agreed to take that out. I agreed with Larry too, to change the reasonable promptness to timely manner to coincide with the open meeting law.
That would be fine too.
And, all right, so any other discussion?
So Larry, after listening to Marilyn with the thought of LCAT and an up-to-date account of the proceedings, I'm good with it, just the way Marilyn explained it. That makes perfect sense to me.
Can I get that in writing, Ralph?
Hey, it's on Zoom, okay?
And what about changing the 7th word from account to minutes? Any desire on that?
I'll chime in. I like to leave it as an account because that would cover LCAT. It's the proceedings where minutes would require them to be written and approved and all. This is an account of the meeting, which Jeannie could turn around and say, here's the full meeting as videotaped.
Good point.
It's not maintained by the town clerk, but it's accessible.
We'll ask the president to have you do that too.
All right, so does someone want to make a motion? Am I creating a, Bill, is that you leaning or?
I'll take a shot at
or
this.
Motioning?
I'll take a shot at it. I move that we remove the words timely manner, or I'm sorry, I move that we remove the words reasonable promptness and insert timely manner, and then remove but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Are you asking that the word with also be deleted with reasonable promptness? So it would read available
Yes,
in a timely manner?
In a timely manner. Right.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, was that Tom?
I
Any
think.
discuss-
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Okay.
No, Phil seconded.
Okay.
Whatever.
Any discussion? So let me read that first sentence as the motion states. A full, accurate, up-to-date account of the proceedings of the council shall be maintained by the town clerk, which shall include a record of each vote taken and which shall be made available in a timely manner following each meeting. Then there'll be a semicolon, and the rest of the paragraph is as is. Any other discussion? Phil Adams,
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. Andy Fraser,
Yes?
William Fonseca,
Yes.
Tom Christensen,
Yes.
Ralph Page.
Yes.
Is that a yes, Ralph?
Yes.
Good. Jeff Bosworth,
Yes.
it's unanimous, 7-0. Okay, we have a little bit of time. Section 5, general powers and duties. And again, this is of the town council. Except as otherwise may be provided by this charter, all general, corporate, legislative, and appropriation powers of the town shall be vested in the council. Comments, questions, suggestions?
Capital T.
Gee, how did I know that was coming?
Mhm.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to make, oh, well, no, we did a blanket T,
Yeah,
didn't we?
Yep.
Yep, we
Never
did.
mind. All right, so we're passed on that one. Second paragraph. The council may enact bylaws, rules, regulations, and other orders not inconsistent with this charter governing its own proceedings, town functions, and all matters bearing on the exercise of its powers and duties.
Capital C.
Comments? Say it again.
Capital C.
Capital T.
C. Charter.
Charter?
Where
I'm sorry,
am I?
It's getting embarrassing.
Oh, that's, did we take a blanket
Yes.
vote on
Charter, yeah.
charter?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so noted. Next paragraph reads, the council shall have the power to appoint the following. A town manager as provided in Article 3, individuals who are to serve as representatives or delegates of the town to the governing or advisory boards of regional or district authorities and any other ad hoc committees as it deems necessary for the orderly conducting of town business and policy, except as authorized by this charter or as provided by general law. So charter is capital C, Jeannie, right?
It is.
However, town
There's a-
business is
There's a
not
town in there
capital.
too.
What's that?
There's a town in there too, I think.
You're right, Tom. Look at
Oh,
you.
there is.
Yep.
Second sentence.
There's gonna be a test.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Larry,
Yes,
other
ma'am.
than your capitalizations and stuff, I have a little thing of substance where
Okay,
the
good.
line says any other ad hoc committees as it deems necessary, talking that the council can appoint. But yet, when you look back at Article 2, Section 3, the president has the power to appoint all members of committees and not the council.
Yes.
So I don't think we can have it both ways. Either the president gets to appoint all members or the council can appoint some.
Could the council designate the president to appoint the ad hoc committees?
Those indirect.
I believe we've already done that by saying
Is that in,
the president shall have
Yeah, I
the,
think that's.
to appoint all members
Section
of
3.
committees.
Yeah. I think it already says that, yeah. So you have non sequiturs here. Well, council members, your input on this. Or anyone, yes, Bill, I'm sorry.
Does the council approve who the president recommends? Yeah, does the council have any say in who gets, like this charter commission was put together? Did the council have any input? Did they approve the names that were submitted to the president?
Yes, Marilyn.
the council president at a meeting of the town council presented the candidates that were selected for this this ad hoc committee, if you will. There was no, I don't believe there was a vote taken. It was under communications, perhaps. Council,
Okay.
so everyone was aware of who was selected. And I don't know how in detail respect to why people were selected, but we were informed.
Okay. But there was no vote. So that, okay, that clears up my question.
Ralph, do you remember? I don't believe there was a vote.
There was no vote on, and to my recollection, there is no vote on subcommittees. It's up to the president who she or he chooses to appoint.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a 5-minute warning. Now 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
So let me just get this right, Larry. They're saying that there's no counselor can review what the president puts for members of a ad hoc committee?
Well, in article, section 3 of this article, it says the president shall appoint all members of committees of the council. Now, this section 5, says that the council shall have the power to appoint the following, and it names any other ad hoc committees. So the prior section had the president doing all the appointment, and now this section says the council can. So you have conflicting phrases there.
Right.
I don't recall us discussing this conflict, Ralph and Bill, originally.
No.
And I would think your practice is that the president appoints and as a courtesy alerts the council of who he or she has appointed, but haven't had need for the council on its own to appoint as a body. Are we correct there?
Correct.
So I think to avoid confusion and conflict, if the intent was to have the president have that authority, you would delete this power given to the council to ad hoc committees.
So Larry, with that being said, and I would agree with that, I'm just wondering if somewhere we should include something that says with a supermajority vote or with a majority vote, a member of a committee that the president has appointed may be removed. So if most of the council doesn't agree with an appointment, but yet the president insists on it, the full council would still have the right to take a vote to remove someone. Something to think about. I believe we're running out of time.
Yeah,
We are, and we will think about that over the next week, and we will resume discussion there. And our next meeting is next Tuesday at 4:30. Good for everyone, including Ryan.
It's good, good for me.
I'm on vacation next week.
Will you what?
I'm on vacation. I know.
Wow,
I'm on vacation next week.
very nice. 4:30 next Tuesday, all right with everyone?
Yep.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. All right, then it's, next meeting will be 4:30, July 28th. And do I hear a motion?
Larry, is that going to be until 5:30 or later?
What's your pleasure?
5:30.
Okay,
Yeah, 5:30 is good.
Ralph is speaking for everyone. All right, 4:30 to 5:30.
So beginning
All
at
right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, aye, ayes have it. Have a best week this week, people.
Thank you.
Thanks for your.
Thank you.